in here, Demanuan in here. Riders coming through. Looks like Valencia, the man who's holding the yellow, green, and polka dot jersey. He's the actual leader on the all those categories. Is in at the front there. He's tucked in. You can see Gonzalo in there in that lighter jersey. It's the sort of teal blue in there, the skin suit. So you can see those shorts. He's our rider who is in the Masters. So here we go up into the climb. Let's watch what's happening here. You can just see Quadrelli really tapping out a tempo. He's following the moves here. Carvajal is the rider who is setting the pace, but look at the stretch here on this group. The riders are getting strung out now. Keep an eye on this. If gaps go, if they can force a break here, they could put a lot of time in. We're at 14.3k. This climb does not top out until we get to 18.4 kilometers. It's going to sweep round and climb, and they've got to keep on pushing here. And it looks to me like they are taking a good set of turns here at the front, but it is one long line behind. Now, almost a rest there. We saw 54 revs per minute come out here. So that is a very interesting technique, revving up, then pushing down. May well be our leader does not want to push clear. Just looking back, looking forward, the riders will be doing exactly the same as we are at the moment, checking what's happening in the racing and checking the moves out between the riders. Michael Suarez is one of our regularly strong riders on the climbs, and he is right in the mix. And I think they're a little wary of Enrico Quadrelli. He's shown his strength. He showed that he wants those points in the mountains competition early on stages 1 and 2. And at the moment, Abdullah on the front here is really having to be careful. You can see 77 revs per minute. Then another kick there, just kicks down on the power. Then he rises, drops down. Then he kicks again. So this is a rider who is really pushing on. Heart rate 146 here, but very interesting technique. It's something that's used on esports. If you ride on the bike, you can get lots of power by kicking down hard. You can do that, then rest, then kick, then rest. But it is really fatiguing if you're not a downhander. You've got to really practice that technique to get it right. And it can do a lot of damage to the riders behind you. You can just see at the moment, kicking and putting a bigger watts down. Now look at the revs going up. So a real yo-yo here, maybe just flicking between the gears as well, just getting those revs sort of jumping up and down. Now a move looks like Al-Rabi going up here. So Al-Rabi really is putting a bit of a kick, 4.5 watts per kilo. He should, I think, bring the group with him. He doesn't want to go solo here. You can see him just easing off here. He's not provoked a response. And these riders really feeling the gradient here. And remember, this is coming on the back of climbing Mount Pleasant twice with those 17 and 18% slopes yesterday for very short duration. Here, we've a long climb, which is really a steady state climb. You can see top right-hand side of your screen that the gradient changes very slightly. It's only generally 0.1, 0.2%. We're not going to see massive increases into 17, 18% on here. Whereas the climbs yesterday, we had a downhill in the middle of it. Let's face it, it doesn't get any more extreme than that. 18% up, then 18% down, then another an even bigger climb up to the summit of Mount Pleasant yesterday. So the gaps at the moment, 10 seconds from our solo leader back to the group behind. You can see that gap is growing. Now, decision time really, I think, here, because if the leaders want to pull back our leader on the road, the leading rider, so they need to start working. They're at 15 seconds now, 16 seconds. How long are they going to leave it? Well, I don't think much longer. Enrico Quadrelli now up at 4.6 watts per kilo. He's the rider who just seen a 5 watts per kilo. And now we start to see that provoking a response from Carvajal behind. So Juan Carvajal starting to kick into the red to pull back Quadrelli as Suarez is going across. And what we're going to see now is rider after rider trying to bridge back across. They're at 20 seconds though at the moment. So Abdullah on the front here has got that gap. This is a really interesting move. I'm not sure whether he wants to be in this position, but he's putting in a fantastic climb at the moment. 90 revs per minute. Get into a steady state, fella. This is where you've got to be smooth. It's a long, long way up this climb. And you can see Quadrelli here out of the saddle, 70 revs per minute. The heart rate going up. It's steadily climbing. It's up at 173, and now he's at 5 watts per kilo plus now 174. And if it keeps on climbing, it'll reach a point where Quadrelli knows that he can't go too much further into the red. They're at 16 kilometers. They've still got another 2.4K to the summit. And look behind. Suarez and Carvajal have a gap to Quadrelli, and that gap is about 5 seconds. Kenup, Maillard, Al-Harabi all being distanced, and they are distanced to the tune of about 40 seconds at the moment. So this is doing some damage. We are on the first of our Category 3 climbs. There are 2 today, and this is definitely a decisive moment in the race here. So Quadrelli trying to drill this. Suarez trying to respond. You can just see our leader in front gets clear air in front, can see behind the riders just about on our screens coming the left-hand side as we come round that sweeping bend. And it looks like Quadrelli and Suarez are back together again. So it's 1 rider against 2. It's going to be, I think, 1 rider against 3. Because you can see Juan Pablo on his way up here. So Juan Pablo Jimenez Carvajal on the way, trying to close down the Quadrelli. I think more perhaps than our solo leader. That Kenup now being distanced here, and he could be in trouble. So just watching Quadrelli here. He's got Michael Suarez has gone over the top. Quadrelli's not going to let Suarez go in the King of the Mountains. Those points are far too much, far too important, far too much at stake for that to happen. Time on our clock's ticking on now at 31 minutes 50 for these riders covered. And Quadrelli here in pursuit of the lone leader with Suarez, with Juan Carvajal. And then it's a gap back from them to Al-Harabi, as well as Kenup and Noack. That's in Category 4. Category 3, well, you can see Efrain Mamba with Camel Cat at the moment. Going to be the riders who are leading this out. So let's have a little bit of a look. The riders pushing on. Interesting to see this now. Who's going to close it down? It's great breakaway here. I tell you something, I think we are seeing a really interesting move. Is this going to be a move that is going to show the rest of the riders that are there's more than 2 ways of this climb? Traditionally, you see climbers revving in and out of the saddle. You see riders sitting at a steady state. What we're seeing here is we're seeing a push and an ease, a push and an ease here. It's a different technique, and it is at lower revs than you traditionally see here. But this is really effective. We're seeing 500 watts, 20 watts, 500 watts, 20 watts. I love to see the power curve coming off this at the end, because this is really interesting technique, and it's effective, holding 20 seconds here. And the group behind, I think there's enough terrain to close down, but they aren't going to be giving away points. We're now hitting the 17-kilometer marker. So when we hit 18.4, that means there's only 1 more K to go. Wow, 3 chasers in here. So we've got 2 stories unfolding in front of us here. We've got our lone leader with a group of 3 behind, looking to take away points here, opening up a gap of 20 seconds. Behind the group of 3, we've got the next story, which is riders of the quality of pleasure of Kenup, people who have held jerseys, who've taken sprints, who are really, really class riders. They are distance, and they're in this group here. And this is what's left of the peloton. So we have solo leader, we have 3 chasers, and we have a peloton. And the peloton has got a lot of our big favorites in there. But that leading group of 3 riders who are chasing our solo leader, they have got some serious talent in there as well. Really interesting to see what happens going over the top. And this technique where we now are seeing, now at 100 revs per minute, he's really starting to spin. The gradient has eased off though, and it may well be that the gears on the bike were set so high. If you have such a low rev, so low watts, I suspect that it may be the case that he's got a really big gear on. So either a very high gear as his first gear, not having a very low gear to make it easy to spin, or he's got a bike and the gears are not working. He's not able to go into those easier gears to spin on the steeper slopes there. So it could well be that this technique is being forced on him and he's using it to his advantage. And that is a real skill here today. So 30 seconds, we just saw flick up on to the screens. They're coming up towards the top. And remember that this part of the climb is going to get them points in the King of the Mountains competition. The gantry is going to come into sight. I think it's 18.4 from memory, just around this right-hand turn. We should start to see that as the clock ticks on about 200 meters or so to see the gantry for the leader. It's about 200 meters on the road, separating the leader from the chasers behind, and then a further 200 meters back to that chasing pack. So equidistant on the road, but it's going to be maximum points here on the way through. So here we go. This is the chase of the points now. In the run for the points, Michael Suarez has put an early kick in here. He's going to steal a point away. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Or is he? Has he got enough momentum? Quadrelli is coming. This is going to come down to the line. Suarez is responding. You can see Suarez had to put 10 watts per kilo down there to take that point. Now you think 1 point, will that make a difference? Well, it will. Let's take a look at the times up that climb. Wow, look at that. It is Abdullah Al-Qasaya who comes through with a top spot, takes 5 points, 4 points for Quadrelli, 3 for Suarez, and 2 for Carvajal. And as you can see, they're the only 4 riders currently who've gone through the line. This is because of that gap back behind. These are live results coming to you. Remember, the results are live. Now we go. Update. It's going to be Pleasure who's going to miss out. Al-Harabi takes the single point there. So Al-Harabi takes 1 point. Carvajal takes 2. Suarez takes 3. Quadrelli takes 4. Qasaya takes 5. And missing out on the points there. Pleasure, Dromard, Kenup. And they have come through after. And 2 things unfolding on that screen simultaneously. The results on there, but also the time gaps. Brilliant. Now, let's take a look across to category number 2. There are next starters. The riders setting off thick and fast here. So, category 2, our penultimate category set off on the race on stage number 3. So, our teams, Team Tapas, the first of our teams. Watch out for Matt Bjarhead and Hawala Sims also climbing strong. The psychologist, we're going to see the cyclists heading through Sprat. Really riding strongly, as is Smith and Giuliano. We're going to watch out for the Hubbers team now. Krasnich is one to definitely watch on these climbs, as is Mr. G. Tortoretto can climb as well. He's proven that time and time again. And of course, the Colombian team, Cafe de Colombia, Coffee and Colombia, 2 of my favorite things, put together in one team. Akatsuki in there, and we are going to see if they're going to come to the Ford Duque doing a good ride yesterday. Hexagon 2 in here, and of course, Machek, the rider who has excelled time and time again. The KOM's power, well, today ought to be the day. We are on category 3 mountain stages, so will the King of the Mountains be the King of the Mountains? And the Steel Wheels team, and the women's racing, they have been sprinting to success. Will that be the case today's sprints? The elite leftovers with Cadiz Bacheo, as well as Londano, and we have 3 individual riders who all figured very strongly. Zaid Hamdan, Hassan Sultan, and Hassan Al-Ramethri, all riders that we can climb. And Al-Ramethri, when it comes to the big long climbs, is definitely a rider to watch out for. So, category 2, going to be underway very shortly. Their jersey holders after stage 2. Luis Ruiz in the yellow jersey, Olivier Simmons in the green jersey, Hassan Aramethri in the polka dot jersey. Then it is a white and blue for Parisi and Ruiz respectively. So Ruiz is showing that old fellas can climb. I say that as somebody who fall in that category myself. And I'll tell you something, it's going to be really interesting to see if those jerseys shuffle. The polka dots for the mountains, the green jersey for the sprints are going to change. Let's see what happens out on the stage. Away we go. Category 2 underway on stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championship. The kick off from the pen, critical as the riders take the right then left turn that bring them on to the course proper. And as we've seen in our previous categories, it is a fast start. We're very quickly into a descent, and then we start to ramp up for the first climb. It's a non-categorized climb, but it has been very, very instrumental in breaking up at least one of the 2 categories on the road. That's category 3. Category 4, well, that really did wait to the big climb itself. We'll see who is going to be able to take the action on. We are in with Hassan Sultan and Christian Maglio as well. The runners down here, you can see these riders looking very, very strong indeed. Now this group just forming, this great shot from overhead here in the ALÚLA world. ALÚLA really a great world to watch down on as you see the train come down past the riders. You can watch the swirl of the riders at the moment. It's more swirl than churn as these riders come through. It balls back up again and the riders really getting it up to speeding up into a tempo 32 kilometers an hour. Is not absolutely crazy. Now, we saw the category 4 riders on the climb. Category 2 got a way to go there. The riders making the way through now. This is our winner of the climb. And you can see there the time gap coming through on the climb of over 20 seconds between first and second place on the Canyon Peaks climb. He's holding this on the descent as well. The descent almost as long as the ascent coming through onto the top. In fact, being exactly the same because you go up. And again, we are seeing kick and rest. Now, so that's our category 4 riders. Let's go across to category 3. This is the sprint times coming through. Kartai Salius putting down a good rider once again. Remember, he's the rider who was in the green jersey. Bala, the winner of that sprint. So Luca Bala taking the sprint time there. Kartai Salius is definitely holding on to his points there, but Bala taking the win in that. Interesting to see that Taisedis clearly has a game plan. Is it going to be that he's going to go for the sprint points on the way through? So Bala on the left-hand side of the base of your screen in category 3, just moving across above category 4, category 2, the last group out and away. And as you can see, we flick through the screens. The different distances covered are really showing just how far you can travel in the world at any given point in time. We're about 16 minutes away from the start of the category 1 men. So our elite riders, the cream of the crop, waiting to go. But we are going to try and cover all 4 categories today on the way through, as we always do. We try and make sure we show just how competitive the racing is. Now, the women's race has wrapped up, so it'll be a little while before we get Emma back into the studio here for the men's race, just wrapping up over there, and we'll be making our way back across to us and joining me when we've got all of our categories underway. But we are seeing our lone leaders start to lose a little bit of time here. So the riders are on the way through now. You can see at the moment category 4, well on the far side of the climb, that the other side of the mountain from these riders. These are our category 3 riders hitting the base of the climb. You can see the green arrow on the profile showing that we're now on our way in. Now, remember this climb, it averages 3.8% from the base to the top, and it is a pretty consistent gradient all the way up, and that will really pay off for somebody if they can sit at a pace. Now, Ephraim Mamba has been a regularly strong rider Sunday Race Club and here on the championships, and he's just sitting at the moment about 12 seconds up the road. This group are still traveling at a speed where the draft is at an advantage. They're just over 20 kph. But expect this to settle down a little bit, I think, a little bit below that speed, unless we see some serious aggression or they're really worried that Mamba is starting to ride off and clear. So let's take a look. Starting to see the numbers going into the yellow there. And that means there's a push on, in fact, going up into the red as well. So really interesting to see. We're riding in with Camel Canth at the moment. You can see all around him the numbers flicking up into yellow and red, and that is a showing that the riders are on the way up. So I'm going to leave those riders on the way up the climb. Meanwhile, Cat 4 making the way down towards the sprint. Now, remember, the sprint times are about the fastest times on the way through. Now, are we going to see a sprint to pick up the points? He doesn't need to if he wants to just stay clear of the chasing group behind, who are at 15 seconds. But remember, this is about the time through, and if you're in it or you've got a draft, that is going to come to your advantage. So category 3 at the moment really has evolved. So our leader on his way in, there's the banner coming up 20 seconds, and watch the time gaps as they go through now. Picks up the pace a little bit there, then sits back down again. You can see those watts per kilo really yo-yoing. So here we go, coming in towards the end of the sprint here. This is going to be very interesting to see. I can't imagine he's going to have the fastest time. Look at the watts per kilo coming behind. I think he's going to get caught by the riders coming from behind as they come in and through, because you can see Suarez has gone through. We were seeing 10 watts per kilo coming from Suarez, but I think the fastest time is going to come potentially from Theb as he goes through. So Theb could well have the fastest time. Suarez has almost got onto the wheel here. Let's have a look. I'm wondering who got the fastest time. Will it be Theb? Will it be Quadrelli? Will it be Suarez? Here we go. It's Suarez who takes it. And this is about having the power. I saw a 10 watt per kilo come out of Michael Suarez, and all of their numbers were into the red. They clearly want those sprint points to come in. So going to take a little look, and look at this. It continues. So this shows you, we've saw that live update on the sprint on the left of our screen. Now we're seeing the update come through once more. And this is because it is live on the way through. We're live here with the coverage. It's live results coming to you. And Pleasure has given it the big beans there. 863 watts. We said we saw 10 watts per kilo come from Suarez. We saw 11 come from Kenup and 11.1 from Pleasure. We're still seeing riders go through the sprint line because of that attack on the front. The groups are fractured across the road. The sprint times are continuing to come in, but I don't think anybody's going to touch Pleasure at the top of the standings. Phenomenal power. Really interesting. Suarez only 20 watts, in fact 18 watts behind Pleasure, but with a 10.2 watts per kilo. Pleasure with the higher watts and a higher watts per kilo, and really working hard there. His heart rate higher as well. So 5 points for Pleasure, 4 for Kenup, 3 for Suarez, 2 for Carahal, and 1 for Dromard. So a great example of the multiple races and strategies unfolding in front of us. In Category 4, we've got our lone leader still on a mission. He's gone through the pretty steady state through there. He kept his speed pretty regularly, didn't go for the sprint. Had 20 seconds coming in, has 20 seconds coming out. The riders behind went for the sprint, and those are the 3 chasers. We saw those riders go up and sprint, trying to take the fastest sprint time to score points in that. They went through and closed almost to 5 seconds of the wheel. Then we saw the chasers behind, then the main peloton in Category 4 come through, sweeping through. And they set the fastest time of everybody. So, great action unfolding in categories 2, 3, and 4. But I think it's time we head across to category number 1. Because category number 1 are elite riders, the world-class top of the tree. They're all lined up, ready to go. So the Belgian Waffle Squad. You can see we've got Michael Kaminski, Van Elster, Vijay Mertens, as well as Van den Eekert. This is a very strong squad, and they have the strength, I think, to continue to push towards the end of the race. Said Safrazad has been on phenomenal climbing form for the Sticky Bun Club. Ross Fawcett has been sweeping up the sprints, and he's been doing so despite not necessarily being with the lead group. So Said Safrazad has been at the front on the climbs and has been right up there. He's going to have to keep proving that today. The Italian Gelato squad will be looking to challenge. A great day yesterday at the office for them. Zach Nair was on storming form, as was Danaska. Nair was riding strong. We saw Notram working well, but Pin Demon has shown that he is their man of the team so far. Will he continue onwards? Beast Mode Pudding, powered by Mode. Well, you've got the ever-aggressive Phil Graves there. But we've seen Dan Theme, Walter, and Cutler all riding well. Really competitive category 1 at the moment. The Beast Mode Pudding team looking to take away top spot. Now, Juan Hoyos has been sprinting like an absolute demon. He's been putting down some fast times, but he's going to be frustrated, I think, by that tactic of Fawcett of just going for them. Hoyos has been right at the front of the race. Fawcett sitting further back, but going for those sprints and doing so in style. Good to see that Burke and Kane also right in there. Now, the UAE clan team. Their entries: Michael Vink, Mr. S100, SS Pablo Popovic, and Michael Knudsen. Now, yesterday we did see a dropout for Vic on our screens. However, the gameplay continued to play in the background, and it does mean that Michael Vink finished the stage in the end in 9th place, and it means that should be continuing onwards today. Michael, of course, the World Tour rider. That team with Mr. X100 and SS, who both had strong rides, and this team have been working as a team. They've really been showing that teamwork is going to pay off. Now, here's the jerseys at the end of stage 2. It was a phenomenal stage to watch. Please go back and give it a watch. It was absolutely cracking. Said Safrazad was an absolute demon on form. He's taken the yellow jersey. Ross Fawcett has taken the sprints jersey in the green. You can see Pin Damon taking away the polka dot jersey, taking that from the shoulders of Safrazad. And Mr. X100 proving once again why he's such an effective road captain, because not only is he the man who knits together that team, but he's also the man in that Masters jersey as well. And he'll be looking to take that right the way through to the finish, I'm sure, whilst at the same time heading up that UAE clan team. So really interesting to see how these riders have been performing across the stages, and I'm loving the fact that we've got so many different teams represented in here. And Sticky Bun Club, well, they've got Fawcett, don't forget, and they've got Safrazad, so that's the green and yellow jersey with them. Pin Demon is with the Italian Gelato, and then we've got, of course, the UAE clan team holding the Masters jersey. What's going to face them today? Well, they've got the same 70 kilometers and the same 735 meters of climbing here in ALÚLA, and we will race right past the Elephant Rock, named for obvious reasons. This a cracking ride. It's one of my favorite rides to ride on MyWhoosh. Up into the climb, round the top of the climb, back down again at the canyon climb. We then make our way back in and round, heading for our final climb, the heritage climb that will see us come up to the finish. Category 3 climbs As you can see, the Canyon Peaks climb where we go up, circle, and then drop back down again, and the Heritage climb, which comes at the end. The mountain section of that finishing at 69.5 kilometers, which will leave a further 500 meters from the end of the mountain time section to our finish. 5 sprints on the way. The Morea sprint, we got the Elephant Rock sprint, the Safari sprint, and the Lonely Castle sprint, followed by the Railway sprint to finish. 5 sprints, the sprints and the mountains today, all scoring 5 points for first, 4 for second, 3 for third, 2 for fourth, and 1 point for being in 5th position. So, lots at stake for the riders, and of course, big prize money as well. So our riders are going to be competing, and remember, the Category 1 prize is going to be the one that gives us the highest payday, because they are the fastest riders, but a huge prize fund of $1 million being shared out in and amongst our riders once they have performed and we have all those results in. And of course, as with all esports, the results you're going to see on your screen are live. We're coming out to you in real time. So this is as we get them and as we can get them to you. They are then unofficial at the end of the racing, and then the very final is when they are verified. And that means that not only have the results been checked by a human being, but they've also been checked by the AI. They've been matched up. The second power source is checked. And there's all sorts of metrics that are looked at to conform, to make sure that the riders are actually following the rules. And not just that, that all of the data is absolutely accurate. So that process continues onwards before and, in fact, after the racing as well. So we'll bring you the live results. So I'm going to be joined in the studio in a little while by Emma Martin. Emma just hopefully grabbing a coffee in between on the way through. Hopefully our riders are all caffeinated, fueled up. If coffee is their favourite starter, the primer to get them off from the line, but they're going to have to be hydrated. They're going to have to be fueled up all the way through the race today, because we've got such a big course. Remember, we've 7 stages. We've got a time trial stage. We've got epic mountain stages. We do have a rest day, so we're on day 3. This is stage 3. Stage 1 started off with a relatively flat course. Stage 2, we got hillier. We're in Australia. Stage 3, we've got today's medium mountain stage. We will move on to the time trial. We've got our epic stages, then we have our run in to the finish. So a real mix of terrains for a real mix of riders, and with 4 categories. It's not just about our elites. It's about all of our riders here at MyWhoosh, and the racing against each other, which we know is going to be super fast and super competitive. So at the moment, Category 4, just under 32 kilometers. Category 3 at 19 kilometers. Category 2 at 10 kilometers. And Category 1 on the start line. They are waiting and ready to go. They've seen what the rest of the riders can do on this terrain. They know that now is the time to perform. Now is the time to look after the team. We saw some really, really serious team tactics in use. We saw riders dropping back, being paced forward. We saw SS and Mr. X100 chasing back onto the group after waiting. We saw all sorts of attacks, and probably the most aggressive racing that we've seen for a long, long time on the Australia course. Today's even bigger and even tougher. Now, into some of the riders after the racing, and they're having a chat on that social media. And please do get in touch with myself. That's Matt Fixer Pain, or with @BikingEver after the race, and tell us how it went, just how hard it was. Phrases like brutal, terrible, leg destroying, lung busting, frantic, another level, all been used. So the riders are on the way. Now, we're going to get this race underway. We'll get these riders up and running. We'll get them off safely. And I think Emma, by the looks of it, will be joining us just after the race starts. So looking forward to hearing how that women's race has gone. Don't forget, you can pick up on that. So when we finish the men's race, dive across and jump on to the women's race coverage. I'm going to be doing that because I've got to do some catching up for tomorrow. So across to our category 1 men. The final minute is in countdown. You can see our jerseys down there. The riders will discard the turbo trainers and they will be off in the virtual world while staying static at their pain cave, their club, their team hotel, wherever they are in the world. Remember, we've got riders all around the globe here racing in the MyWhoosh Championships from Europe to South America to the Gulf States, right the way all around the planet. Riders are coming in and racing. You're going to see who is going to take it out. So 15-second marker coming up. Who will lead us out? Will all those riders be able to handle this very quick start out of the pens? So here on the MyWhoosh Championships, the final category to go will be our category 1, and away they go. Stage 3 of 7 underway on the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023, and our elite riders powering off from the start. They're at 40 kph before they even leave the pens, and on the course, Tim Cutler has taken them out at speed here, and he's right up at the front. We've seen a massive pace injection going from the word go as Mr. X100 brings the UAE clan team to the front. They do not want to get distance on the early stage, and they have seen how lightning fast it was on the way down. Never mind throwing a lightning bolt at the finish. These guys need them in the legs today because they are absolutely motoring away from the start of the pens. And this start, they're going to be into the climb before they know it because they are traveling very quick indeed. We saw this in the previous categories to go. We're seeing it once again. And look at Cutler's revs, 95 revs per minute. He's doing 300 watts in here. He's yo-yoing from the front where he's in the draft in the black numbers on the top left of your screen through to being into the green. And I tell you something, this is going to be a rude awakening for plenty of the riders. So the riders make the way down. They're going to be in and taking the left-hand turn. So let's see what they have to take away. So here we are, the riders diving down. They're going to take the left-hand turn, take the right-hand bend, and then round the left-hand turn. So we said these guys take away the biggest prizes. Let's show you what that means with some big numbers on your screen. Top spot at the end of the race for the individual rider, $10,000. Your team comes out on top spot, $42,000. If you are our sprint winner at the end of the competition, or our youth winner, or our mountains winner, or our masters, or maybe even more than one, $5,000 per category. And on top of that, each and every single stage, our stage winner will take away $1,000. The sprint winner and our king of queen of the mountains on each stage takes away $500. So win the stage, win the sprint, maybe win a few stages, win a few days of the mountains, and you get your team in there, maybe head up the Masters winner category as well, and figure in the individual classification, and it could be a very big payday. Lots at stake for our riders, as well as having the title as the winner of the MyWhoosh Championship for 2023. And you can see why the racing has been just so aggressive, so frantic, and absolutely full on all of our stages to date, the stages 1 and 2, and so far just the same in stage number 3. So let's do a quick roundup of where we are. Category number 4. They're at 35 kilometers at the moment. They are well underway on the way in and around. They are between sprints number 3 and number 4. And at the moment, that group has reformed back together. Our elite riders, we've seen splits on the mountain. We've seen a reformation on the terrain below. They're on the right-hand side of your screen. We've seen category 3 very much under the same style of racing. Category 2 has changed on the way through. So we are going to dive in with category 1 in a moment. And it looks like Emma's in the studio. So as Emma gets herself settled in to the studio, manages to get all ready to go, we'll bring her in just a moment. I've just been keeping an eye on these riders, and there's a lot of distance. It shows you how far our Category 4 are traveling. They're at 35k, 25k for Category 3. So they are currently on their way in to the sprint that is at the base of the mountain on the far side. Category 2, they're at 14 kilometers, and that means that they are on the way up on the climb on the ascent. In Category 1, they are at 2.8k, so they are on the way out of the pens, and they are on that stepped climb that starts the day off, not categorized, but it has seen a number of riders in trouble in all the previous categories. So 4 categories away, 4 sets of riders up on the road. Let's see who is going to take this out. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Category 1, interestingly, being headed up here by Mr. X100. And it looks to me like that UAE clan team mean business. And on the other end of your screens on the right-hand side, we've seen lots of action coming from Quadrelli here in Category 4. Now, Emma's in the studio, so joining me here in the studio, good to have her with me. It is Emma Martin. Emma, we were together for the start of the women's race. Before I came in to start the men's race, you got a huge smile on your face at the moment. Was it a cracker?
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant, and it's great to be joining you in the men's race, but I am still smiling from the 4 finishes we had in the women's race today. Absolutely amazing riding.
Yeah, indeed. And I tell you something, if that smile is anything to go by, I guess we ought to watch it back.
Oh, absolutely. There is no way you should not be watching the women's race today. The last kilometre in each of the 4 categories. Fantastic. That final climb at the end, and then what happened in the final K when that climb finished. Well, the climb didn't finish, but the segment finished, was just brilliant.
And we've got a very similar situation in the men's race. So for those of you who didn't see the women's race or haven't seen it yet, very similar profile with a undulating or hilly start, then the climb coming in at about a third of the way through. Then we had some run terrain with the sprints in. Then we came to a mountain climb and a finish on the way through. So very similar, and we're going to have the same in the men. Now, here we go. These are our Category 3 riders. They are on the way through. They've just come through the sprint at 25.9k. So the riders go through the sprint. Let's have a look at who is flying once again. That is a Luca Bala. So Luca Bala has taken 2 out of 2 sprints so far in Category 3. Carl Tysalius only dropping 2 points so far to Bala in the overall. Tysalius, of course, in that green jersey coming in. He's going to score 4 points to Bala's 5. Then it's going to be Valencia de Manuan and then Valencia again. So Esteban Valencia taking 3 points and Daniel Valencia taking 1. Behind, though, you can see that the rest of the riders really not stepping on the pace as much. Interestingly, Stepan Hadina here from the MyWhoosh Beasts, the under-23 leader who's been absolutely looking brilliant in this category, right up in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see him in there. The under-23 competition is, well, looking like it's just as strong in the men as it is in the women. So I am looking forward to seeing how that plays out today in the stages of this men's race.
Yes, so am I. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see as they come through. So we can see we've got a Category 4, right-hand side of your screen. We've got Category 1, left-hand side of your screen. And you can see at the moment we're just riding in with Lucas and Asker on the left-hand side. Our riders continue to push on, and remember they've got lots of course to cover. 70 kilometers day in, day out. It is absolutely brutal distance for our riders to cover, and our riders in Category 1 are currently in the first 10%. They're just at 5k in, And we're seeing a predominance of the riders in the UAE clan team up on the front.
Now, that's an interesting tactic again, Matt, because we saw the UAE clan team really dominate yesterday as well in terms of tactics and teamwork. But towards the finish, it was other riders coming to the fore. So it was a fast and furious race yesterday. But interesting to see the UAE clan team at it again.
It is indeed, and I'm really, really interested to see what they can do on the way through, because this is looking like we are going to get a very, very, very interesting race if their tactics continue onwards as they are. So these riders are continuing to push here, but the group is not breaking up, Emma. This climb here, we see it on the profiles. It's not the easiest of climbs, but I think there's a degree of saving their energy for the categorized climb, and that is maybe the I don't want to use the word cynical, but maybe the more race experienced category 1.
You know, that category 3 climb comes very early in this race, Matt, 13.5 kilometers into a 70-kilometer stage. Is it going to make that much difference? Are we going to see the pack break up? I think what we might see is we might see a few riders shed off the back of that group, but I'm not sure we are going to see 1, 2, 3-man breakaway going clear for the rest of the stage. You know, I think it will drop a few riders, but I think we will still see a large pack after that first category 3 climb. But, you know, as I said yesterday, I make all sorts of assumptions looking at stage profiles, and you make an assumption about how you think the riding will play out. How that actually plays out on the day is another thing. So these riders we are in with at the moment, this is category 4, and we are coming up, or they are coming up, for 40-kilometer mark. So they are well over half race distance now as they are dropping down off of this small descent, and they will very, very shortly be coming up to sprint number 4.
So a long way down the road, aren't they, Emma? This is they're travelling pretty quick. Really interesting to see how they motor on here. Pablo Popovic, that we're following in with category 1 here, has been very quiet. I just really, it kind of just pinged up in my consciousness. It's a name that we've hardly really seen at the front of the racing, and yet we know that Pablo he's a fearsome competitor.
Oh, do you know, I am trying so hard not to give spoilers away on the women's race at the moment. It is so difficult at the moment because, you know, I just want to drop in and make a comparison, but I'm not going to. Watch the women's race and see if you can spot the comparison I'm trying to draw. But Popovic, you are quite right. You know, we know Pablo Popovic is a really, really strong rider. He's got an amazing kick on him. He knows how to ride the technique of MyWhoosh. He's the master of momentum, and he is a really, really strong climber. Now, we know he is an all-round package, and we know there have been 2 stages already. Now, we have had 2 fairly flat stages where we have not seen breakaways, and we've not seen breakaways stick, and we've not seen big time gaps. So, is Popovic waiting? Are we going to see Popovic come out in the latter stages where we can see time gaps could really significantly influence the overall general classification? But at the moment, he's just keeping his powder dry and having a straightforward start to this stage race.
Well, that may be a really good tactic on the way through, because you can't race non-stop all the way through. Or maybe you can. We see some incredible performances week in, week out on the pro scenes by riders doing that. So let's keep our eye on them. And Emma, we've got some good performances. We see some really interesting sprints coming through. One of the riders who we've seen feature regularly is Kartai Salius, and for those of you who follow MyWhoosh on social media or have seen the videos on the YouTube feed, you'll know that Carl is a regular on the race club, and seen his setup actually on the bike. For me, Carl is a very, very interesting rider. He absolutely is passionate about it, and he puts everything in, and you can see that. So, are we going to see a similar similar level of commitment from our Category 1 riders, do you think? Because Carl gives it everything. We're going to need to see that. Our riders are actually coming in towards sprint number 1. Remember, the first sprint is at 10.8k. So at the moment, we're less than 2k from that sprint, and it's being led out already, I think.
Well, interestingly enough, Mr. X100 from the UAE clan team is one of keeping this pace high today, and he's stretching that Category 1 group just on the descent here of that first small climb. Now, that's not a classified climb, and it's not within our climb classification for the King of the Mountains today, but it is big enough to stretch this group and for X100 to want to push on the downhill section. Now, SS coming through, Van Horen there as well, Cutler, Bjorklund, Popovic, Vujasin and Martins. Now, Martins had a good race yesterday. We knew he was on form. He was peaking for that World Championships back in February, and he has kept that form all the way through.
That is some doing, isn't it? Because to be that good for that long is really telling. Now, this run down into the sprint, and this is the first time I was going to have seen it with the men running in, is a very interesting run down. You come down off the descent, and we've seen the run in, but it then levels out and then starts to kick up. And getting the timing right on this sprint has been a little bit tricky. It has definitely paid to come from the bunch, to come through the group. But we have seen, particularly when we saw the Category 3 come through here, the race was broken apart. And we were seeing riders a lot further back in the pack coming through because they were coming through with fast times because they were in the group.
Yeah.
And that was really telling here. It's momentum, draft, and timing is so key.
Well, often the case. And getting the technique right on the sprints, I am going to make a comparison with the women because Karut Kavedo, Category 1, she has got sprint technique on the MyWhoosh platform absolutely dialed. It's going to be interesting to see. This is a downhill run-in. Momentum is going to be absolutely key in keeping speed high going into the sprint itself.
So Category 1 on the way in. Can they emulate Kavedo's skills? We saw Hoyos time and time again put that in, but Ross Fawcett has been doing the same as well. And it's made for a really interesting battle with some very different techniques being employed. So Category 1 at 10.1k. This is the run in. This is the march in. We're about 600 meters now to go at 10.2. Remember, it starts at 10.8, running through to 11.1 kilometers. So Category 1 top left of your screen will be zooming in, I'm sure, very shortly. The rest of our race fields out there at the moment on a descent. Category 2 are absolutely flying. They're at 60 kilometers an hour. So you can see the pace that is being put down. And at the moment, I think that race is broken apart. And I think there's 3 leaders at the front. I think it is Mayor, Maglio, and Parisi. And if that is the case, looks like Spratt just coming in. This group is a very strong one. So real action in Category 2. In Category 3, you can just see it's a long line. And again, the pace is hot in that. But here we come into the sprint with Category 1. Now, who's going to get the timing right? The whole pack is moving. So watch the speed. We're up at 40 kilometers an hour now, 41. The pace is picking and people are flying through that group. But that means that they are out in the wind early. And Ross Fawcett has gone with the group this time. He's with the group and he's going hard here. Now, he came through from the back. It looks to me like Fawcett will be the first to cross the line. Will he have the fastest time? You've just seen Juan Hoyos come through. And is this going to be a little bit of a change where the first over the line this time was Fawcett, not Hoyos? He's got the fastest time, though. Look at that. That is some going. So Fawcett putting out less watts and less watts per kilo than Juan Hoyos, but riding smarter and getting the draft, and that is key because it's on time. So Fawcett had the better run. He used the pack better, and that is what it's all about. Hoyos putting out more power, putting out more watts per kilo, but that is not all this game is about, because if it was, there'd be no draft effect taking effect.
Well, Bjorklund putting in a great ride from the Sticky Bun Club, Matt, to pick up 2 points. But the thing I'm questioning here is Bert Kayin, from the same squad, from the same team as Hoyos, Hexagon 1, competing for the points against his teammate who's currently...
I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I think that is a byproduct. I don't think Burt was going with that.
I don't know, because I saw him kick at 11, 12 watts per kilo.
He did, but he had Fawcett there with him. So was he just marking out Fawcett just in case? So I think he got sat on Fawcett's wheel, sucked along because he was following Fawcett. You know what it's like? You sit on the wheel, they go faster, so you go faster, they go faster, and before you realise it,
4 points, he's pulling his teammate Hoyas out of the competition.
Well, he's taken a point away from Hoyas for sure. I'm not disputing that, but it's so easily done. I don't think it's an intentional thing in the slightest. I think that is the byproduct of sitting on there. You sit behind them and you're giving it everything to go with them. Fawcett's sprint there, I mean, that was led from the front, and that was some going. He charged through the pack early. He did the majority of the time through the pack, and then he came out. Hoyas maybe just left it a little bit too late there.
Well, I think Hoyas and Fawcett have both absolutely made their intentions clear, haven't they? From stage one, from sprint one. They are in this for the sprint competition.
I'm loving it.
It is absolutely brilliant. And we've seen very different types of techniques. We've seen very different forms of sprinting, and we still have those two eyeballs out together.
And bearing in mind where we are on this, we are now going to go into a climb. Now, yesterday, Hoyos went with the groups on the climb. They were steep, and he went over them, but they were short. Now, we've got a longer climb. We've got an uphill run to it, and then we've got that climb. That's going to be really interesting. Let's go across with our category 2. They're at 24 kilometers here, and look at where we're at with that, because we have got a breakaway group in action. We've got Parisi, Mayer, Maglio, and Spratt at the front of the race. Further back, we've got a big pack of riders in there, absolutely huge, and they are chasing now. Just taking a look here in I'm just looking down there. I'm trying actually to count how many there are. I reckon that must be about 18 to 20 riders. And that is a guesstimation. As anybody who's listened to us for any length of time will know, never rely on Matt's maths. Matt's maths is rubbish, but you can see that there are riders up the road, and that is really interesting. Now, at this stage in the race, we've one climb covered. We're at 25 of 70k done. We're approaching the next sprint. And remember, that group will move fast. As the sprinters in that group kick, they will get closer. We saw that in category 4, where the chasers kicked. They didn't close down our lone leader completely. He still held 5 seconds, and then it opened back out again. So really interesting to see how that plays out in category 2, coming into that self-same sprint.
Yeah, well, they come into that sprint. Category 1 go under the start banner of the first category 3 climb of the day. So category 1 now on the climb. Category 2, they are well and truly rolling into that sprint.
So the climb obviously much longer than the sprint, but it's going to be very interesting. I think because this is a steady gradient climb from start to finish, we are going to see, or should be, a steady pace up there. Famously, it'll be as aggressive as anything and absolutely break to pieces. And in fact, you can just see a charge back into the group. Saeed Safrazad off the back of that pack, just making his way back in. He won't want to be a distance. Mr. X100 just holding at the back of that group, as he often does, but now moving up through. So left-hand side, category 1 on the climb. Right-hand side, this is the run into the sprint. The sprint starting at 25.6k. So less than 600 meters, 500 meters to go.
Yeah, it's an interesting tactic from Safrazad if he's going for this climb, you know, Matt. Go into the segment at the back of the group. Even if the group stays together, all you've got to do is go over at the front of the group and you've got the fastest time.
Yeah, because on the start of the climb as well, you can carry pace in. So it's not steep. You've not put the effort in. You can maybe give 3 seconds away, 4 seconds away at the start, make it back there. Suddenly, you've got 4 seconds in the bank, haven't you?
Exactly.
Before you go up to the top.
Really interesting technique to see that there.
Smart. Love it.
Well,
Sneaky,
we said ride with your head.
Well, that's it, and that's part of riding on eSports. So, right-hand side of the screen, coming up onto the big screen, it is the sprint for category 2. So, let's see how we go. This is going to be another interesting run here. Who's going to take this out? You can start to see it winding up here. 300 meters of sprint. And it looks like Sultan on the front is leading them in here, but he's getting mobbed. And look at the kick that has gone. Sprat has gone over the top. Parisi in there as well. This is, I tell you something, this is going to be something else. So this is the main group going in and through the sprint. The leaders went through some 13 seconds ago, but surely the fastest time has come out of that group. Cadiz came through at pace. Will it be the 4 leaders or will it be the group? It's the group that have got that. And look at that. Really interesting. The time through there. Dutton taking 5 points. Didoch taking 4. Simmons taking 3. Pacheco taking 2. Cadiz taking 1. But then we've still got riders coming in and through. But you can see Bjarhe comes in, Giuliano, Gaglio, Moreno, Greer come in. And it's a long way down until you get to the riders in the leading group of riders. And that is because they rode through a steady state looking at the overall. And I think not thinking about this sprint. But great ride there by Jay Dutton from, guess who? Steel Wheel Squad.
Well, there you go. But some great technique you could see there, Matt. We had 3 riders lay off that group and lay off that group significantly. And then they pushed and pushed through and came through the group. So absolutely perfect technique. Lay off the group, put the kick in, come onto the back of the group, utilize the draft, go straight through and over the top.
Okay. Let's see if they can do that again next time. Right. Across to category 1. We are all over the place because we are all over the road and we are flying around the ALÚLA world following all of our riders. We're in with SS at the moment. They're a real workhorse, a real strong rider. I'm searching for the word because he's not a domestic. He's an absolute star in his own right. But he has the ability to absolutely bury himself for his team. We see it done time and time again. He's setting the pace. He keeps it high, keeps it together, and the team working well. Now, Saeed Safrazad, the man who we saw with that very clever layoff at the start of the climb as they went into the climb, now on his way up, holding the wheels in this pack. And as Emma said, he doesn't need to be anywhere but near the front. He doesn't want to give away any more time than he gained at the bottom there. So he's just got to mark those wheels, or his alternate technique, get on the front and set the pace so it's his pace. Because if you are the person playing the tune rather than dancing to it, you are the man in control.
Yeah, it completely depends whether you've got an offensive or a defensive strategy going on. And Safrazad is coming to the front of that pack. You know, we know he's already quicker than everybody because he's already come through that pack. It might only be fractions of a second, but it's definitely towards his benefit as SS picks up the mantle on the front with Cutler and Dom. But Nitsa is right up there as well, and Graves and Van Elst, Justin and Theme just coming through as well.
And with this being steady state, there's no obvious attack point on here. So you would attack over the top of a steeper section where it starts to level. There's not a lot of that, and it's a very flat top. So as we go up the climb, we ascend, we make our way around the amazing sections of road. I mean, really do replicate the roads out on the course that it follows. And they're super sweeping, super smooth roads climbing the way up. We then circle the top of the mountain and then drop back down, coming in the opposite direction. So it's not going to be long before we come the other way. When the camel there won't be on our left, it'll be on our right as we drop down this descent. But before that, we've got to get to the top. And the pace at the moment is sitting very consistent, but we are sitting at 27 kilometers an hour here, 30 to get through the budge. And I think we are going to see maybe just an acceleration over the top. But nobody getting worn down. I haven't seen anybody drop off the back of you, Emma.
No, not at all. And at this pace, I don't think anybody would in this category. This is a class field, Matt, and a world-class field. We've got around 2 kilometres of this climb still to go. So there is still a fair way for some action on this climb and in the King of the Mountains competition.
So just starting to see a little stretch out now, and it's Michael Knudsen on the attack. 9 watts per kilo just come out from Knudsen. So Knudsen starting to string it out. An instant response from Martin Martins, Lionel Vajassi, Stefan Van Els. It looks like Vink also doing the same as well. So those are riders responding to the Michael Knudsen's attack. And now Van Els goes up on to the front. Cutler there once again. Phil Graves answering the call to action here. And now we start to see riders distanced off the back of the group with that big kick and that big push to stretch the group out as Safrazad goes up on to the front. He doesn't stay there long, though. He knows there's still a fair way to the top. Remember, this climb does not finish until we reach 18.4 kilometers, 18.4k to get to the finish as Vink now goes on to the front. But we know he's capable of a lot more than 7 watts per kilo. But it looks to me like he is winding this up at the moment. Can he take this out? Well, my answer to that would always be a yes, given it's Michael Vink. But I tell you something, the squads that are chasing him, really interesting to see. Norum right up again. Martin's up there. Vujasin, they all want to stay with him. They do not want to let him go in any way, shape, or form.
Well, there is a team competition as well, Matt, which is done on the fastest time of the top 3 riders in the team each day. And at the moment, it is seconds separating the teams in this category 1 race. We have seen sprint finish after sprint finish, and it has put minute amounts of time onto the GC and onto that team competition. So we may be stage 3, but we might as well be stage 1 for the gaps on the peloton.
Apart from the massive damage to everybody's legs.
Well, that is true. Your legs might not be as fresh, but the time gaps are tiny.
Wow, shows you just how close it is up here. And this group is still very close together. We've just been keeping an eye on these riders. Just looking to see any big names going off the back of the pack here. But it looks like pretty much everybody in there. The only rider looking to be really distant here, David Dunn, 8 seconds, 9 seconds now. So that injection of pace, just distancing Dunn off the back of the group. So we follow the riders through. We're just sitting here with Mr. X100 in that master skin suit. That's the light blue, the Till jersey, just making its way up. It's being worn by Mr. X100, as you can see here, just sitting on the back of that group. He just keeps rolling up, just putting a little squeeze on the pedals, but not going to the front, not sitting out in the wind. And as we go over the top, this is where a difference can be made. So category 1 coming up towards the top of the climb. We're going to hit the KOM banner in about 600 meters for category 1. Who's going to push on to try and take those points? This could be very prophetic of Emma, because she said that Safrazad dropping off the back could well give him enough to take away the win in this, and they are coming to the line together. There are no big gaps in this group. They're going to hit the line. Well, let's see. Was Emma correct in the tactics? Has Safrazad taken that by dint of being off the back at the start of the climb? Here we go. Da-da-da-da-dum.
Yes!
And she gets the win. There you go.
I've just done my Usain Bolt movement in the commentary box.
That's it. You've hit the button and done the Usain Bolt.
I am replicating the MyWhoosh ability.
I tell you something, really interesting result this. Look at this side Safrazad, super smart move there. He takes the top. He's hardly pushed on. He's what's less than Van Diemen. Pin Van Diemen yesterday was climbing those short, steeper hills. He's climbing well again. He takes 2nd place and 4 points. Knudsen takes 3. Vujasin takes 2. Noren takes 1. But the group going through together, that was almost down to being a lottery behind Safrazad, who was the only one who secured that. Now, that is incredibly smart, Randy. He must have surely anticipated that they were going to come across the top together. The top, because it rolled, didn't have that final kicker. Absolutely astoundingly brilliant tactics. 10 out of 10 for that. It's a 10 from me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's too early in the race today, I think, for this mountain, this climb, to break up the group. And as we mentioned, it is a world-class group of riders we've got in front of us in category 1. So I think you really wouldn't want to be on your own and a lead rider and attempt to make a 50-kilometer breakaway. So, we've got that group together. They've gone over the climb. Safrazad has done what he needed to do, and he did it with his head. He absolutely thought about what he was doing, and he executed it perfectly.
So just taking a little bit of a look behind the group, Fawcett, Dan, Bjorklund are out the back. We've got Kane out the back as well. That means that we're going to see a sprint from Fawcett for the sprints, no doubt, post-mountain, and he could be affecting that. And now that puts Hoyos in the unenviable position. He's got to sprint flat out for everything because he doesn't know how much he needs to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that if there's any of those sprints, he needs to take it easy. And Fawcett can go into every single one of those sprints, knowing what time he has to do and just setting a time to beat the fastest time at the time.
Absolutely, though not the benefit of the draft of a large group of riders, much smaller groups take any ability from, but potentially fresher legs because he's not pushed so hard up the climb.
Yep, it's got a target, fresher legs, as Emma's just said, could point that. Plus, he then also doesn't have that pressure. He's not got that unknown of knowing what you have to do, what you have to do. Always, it's the unknown that people are afraid of. That's what scares people.
Are they?
Generally, yeah.
Personally, snakes?
Jush! No, I'm not
Large
snake fan.
poisonous spiders?
Yeah, probably not a good thing either.
Anyway, whilst we chat reptiles and acrides, X100 is the rider pushing on the front, and it is indeed hotting up this pace a little bit here just now, but they're on the descent at the moment, and he's making sure that they are continuing to ride at a strong pace on this descent.
Really a quick descent down here. Not the necessarily the fastest of the day. We've seen some really big speeds coming from the rest of the group, but you're seeing the pressure kept on here. They don't want to ease off too much, but they do want to get some recovery in. So category 121.4K under the wheels. You can see the leaders in category 2 at 33.5. We are at 50. For category 4, category 3 at 42. So the riders pretty much all 10K separated. So
yeah,
really good racing in categories 1, 2, 3, and in category 4, 54K for category 4. They are motoring, and they're motoring on the way into their next sprint, which will be their final sprint of the day, the final chance to score some points. Now, I've absolutely loved the sprint competition in category 4 because, again, we've seen lots of different tactics, and Pledger holding that green jersey as our leader. But we've seen Kennett put in some phenomenal sprints as well. So really interesting to watch how these riders approach this in category 4 and how they go for this. I think, personally, this is one where I would be taking a run from the group. I don't think it's going to work going in terms of running into it at the front. I think you need to be at the back of the group and come forward. Going to be interesting to see. The other thing that's really interesting here as well is the points in the mountains coming up. We are 11K from the end of this sprint to the start of the mountain, and mostly it's uphill.
Yeah, it is indeed, but they've got to get through this sprint first, Matt, and they are indeed underway, and it is a fast and furious sprint, and we're seeing Quadrelli, moving up through this as we drop back in to category 2. From category 4, we are coming up to 34 kilometres.
So 34K covered for category 2, and they are through their third sprint of the day. They've got a hill coming up in front of them, and this means that this group have the chance to split the pack apart.
Well, they do, but I'm not sure they're going to. This is a big group again on the road. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, maybe 18 riders in this group, Matt, in this category 2 race at the moment. That is a big group of riders and some really strong, good riders in this pack.
It is, and remember, of course, that it's all going to come down to who has got the pace, who can go clear on that final climb. I think today, Mr. X100, though, in category 1, winding it up again. So as we come to the base of the climb and we start to stretch out, these riders know that they haven't got very far, so it levels out, and then we have what is essentially slight uphill run into towards our sprint. It's not huge, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this is played out by the teams.
Now, do you think Mr. X100 from the UAE clan team is keeping this pace high at the moment and ensuring they kick on and don't take a break after that descent off the climb, because he wants to ensure that A, this pack is whittled down, and B, anybody with climbing intentions towards the end of this race, their legs are going to hurt, because the UAE clan team have got some star climbers.
Are you thinking of, say, Safrazad by any chance? Because he really handed it to the UAE clan team on the climb. And when Mr. X100 and SS were dropped off the back of the group, Saeed Safrazad went on the attack. He drilled it at 7.5 watts per kilo. And really, they did put them really under pressure there and forced a massive chase out of them. Mr. X100 here could well be doing almost in the reverse. He may well be thinking, well, do you know what? We need to keep the pace high. We need to take the sting out of the legs of the rest of the team by keeping it drilled. They did it to us. Do you know what? We're going to give it a bit back now.
Yeah, and it would be an interesting tactic and interesting to see how it plays out with this large number of riders in this group. This category 1 pack all still together at coming up for 25 kilometres into this race.
So 25.6, the start of the sprint. This is Juan Hoyos. This is the man at the moment holding on to the jersey. However, remember, we have got Ross Fawcett. He's a few K back. It's going to be really interesting to see what he can do on this.
Really helpful there of Juan Hoyos to be at the back of the group at that point in time, because that gave me the ability to double check 23 riders, Matt, in this group.
Wow. So still a big pack, and that's a lot of watts that these riders could generate. Probably the power, the watts generated by this pack enough to power a small village, I'd imagine, if not a town, because they're an incredibly powerful group, an incredibly powerful group of riders, and you can just see that this group are not really dropping people. Now you've seen the odd push on the front. I think that's Vink at the moment, who's just stretching this out on the way into the sprint. Now remember, Michael Vink is riding for the UAE clan team. He's going to take it in hot here, and this is going to be a very fast sprint because he really pushed on here. Kotler goes up onto the front, and you can see the charge on the dots from behind, and look at the speed that we just saw Juan Hoyos go through. We said he has to give it everything.
16 watts per kilo.
That is giving it everything. Here he goes. He comes through. He's going to look to take the fastest time. Is this setting a marker? Ross Fawcett, you might be behind. You might be playing the tactical game. Well, I've got the answer. That is sticking proverbially a number of fingers up at Ross Fawcett there.
No,
well and truly.
I don't know about that, but
look
boy,
at that.
did he kick and kick hard. And that watts per kilo did indeed top over 16 watts per kilo. We saw there, X100 coming through and being rewarded for his work with 4 points. Van Diemen at 3, SS2, and Nair picking up 1 point.
Really interesting set of numbers. Really, really interesting. Juan Hoyos has put down a sprint there. The watts he's put down now are equal to the watts he put down pretty much on the last sprint yesterday. Very, very similar numbers. And he's done that. He has, if he was just sprinting from that group, he would have known he was well clear. But he has that unknown behind him.
He does.
Now, either this is going to go to his benefit, because he's going to go, do you know what? I can do this all day, mate. Knock yourself out, Ross Fawcett. I'm going to just keep banging out massive numbers. Or Fawcett's tactics will work, and Juan Hoyos' legs are going to go, right, see you later. I've had enough for today. And that could happen. Remember that sprint was only sprint 2 of 5.
Yeah, and the last sprint coming today at 53.5 kilometres into this 70-kilometre stage. We are on stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships. There are 7 stages across 8 days. Now, it is only starting to hot up now at stage 3. I can't wait for the next few days.
It is, and I think leading us in will be that final climb as we come in. But category 1 at the moment, we're seeing another aggressive race. We went through that sprint, and Vink lined it out there as they came out the other side. We're seeing incredible number of attacks coming off. Now it's Michael Knudsen who's pushing on, and they're taking it in turns here, because we see this time and time again. UAE clan team, Mr. X100 was on there, then Knudsen went, then Vink went, now it's Knudsen, and now Mr. X100 is just going to try and bridge across. This is a downhill section. These riders from the team are making everybody work. I tell you something, there's no, what day? It's on rest day? is it day 5? So with 4 stages, day 5's the rest day. Might be some begging letters going into race control saying, please, can you move the rest day forward one, please?
No, we are really looking forward to this. And Vink now going over the top from the UAE clan team. Knudsen went, X100 went, Vink's now gone. Vujassin and Martins, the two riders doing the chasing. You know, Martins really good riding yesterday. Vujassin class rider as well. And they are doing the chasing. And Vink now, they go over the top of Vink. And Graves is in there too. Simon Walter is in there or thereabouts. So is Popovic and Panizza. Vidal Mayer is in there too. So all of the riders continuing to keep their eyeballs on the road and on the UAE clan team.
They are Martins and Vujassin riding for that Waffle squad. Van Diemen Mez and Nasca for the Gelato squad, as is Zach now in that leading group. They've got a really really strong representation. Absolutely fantastic to see. Interesting to see that Hoyos has got a teammate in there of Alex Heaney. And I think that's very telling that they have got more than just the sprinter on the Hexagon 1
well,
squad in there.
Panizza is in there as well, you know.
Yep. Yeah, 3 riders in that league group for them. So still lots left for these riders to fight over in Category 1. Category 2, a little bit further down the road. They are at 39 kilometers, so not long until we see Category 2 hit the sprint. They're going to hit that at 40.5k. Categories 3 and 4 even further down the road still on this fantastic stage number 3 of the MyWhoosh Championship for 2023. And at the moment, certainly living up to expectations as we see more and more action. Emma, the terrain between the riders at the moment, between the sprint that we've just seen Category 1 and 2 go through, and the terrain that the riders have got for Category 4, because Category 4 are at 58 kilometers, so they're well on the way towards that final climb. It's tough, isn't it? It's no walk in the park.
There are no real flat sections on this course today, Matt. You know, we've had, well, maybe, I don't know, 500 meters of flat out of the start pen before we started to hit the rollers, and they've got bigger and bigger, and they're continuing to change gradients. Actually, to be honest, the flattest part of this course is for sprint 3 and sprint 5. The rest of the course is always either up or down. So whilst the gradients aren't particularly steep or the climb's not particularly long, they are indeed climbs, and there are a number of them across this course.
So let's see what they're going to do with that, because Michael Vink, Tim Cutler, and Mr. X100 have all been on the attack. They're trying to break this clear again. So you've got Vink and Mr. X100 for the UAE clan team, and they are recognizing the danger behind. Saeed Safrazad has closed that down. He comes to the front and immediately shuts down the power. He came up at 6.2 watts per kilo. He dropped to 4 watts per kilo now. And by dropping off the power straight away, it may leave the door open for another counterattack. Look at that group. It came together. It was almost one blob on the road on the sat-nav view on the top right-hand side of your screen as they come in together. So a really interesting move here as they go through. Remember, Mr. X100 in the Masters jersey, in the teal. Watch out for Vink. He's in the all-yellow skin suit. Watch out for Knudsen. He equally has the shaven head, but in the yellow jersey with the black shorts. Definitely one to watch, but it's our yellow jersey on the move again. 9 watts per kilo.
Well, 23 riders in this lead group in Category 1 at the moment, and the terrain in front of them before they get to that final Category 3 climb, not particularly challenging terrain for this large group of Category 1 men today, but it is being made challenging by the UAE clan team. Michael Vink, one of their riders, now off down the road. SSX100 and Knudsen all taking their turns, and it is the team of the UAE clan team that have been making this transition between our two Category 3 climbs difficult today for all the other riders.
And Mr. X100 coming across here for the UAE clan team. What a sprint across. He's gone across. Now, I think the UAE clan team want to have 2 riders up. They do not want to put 1 rider clear at this stage. It's too far to go with one rider. We're not at half race distance yet. We're on 31k of 70k. And I think that is why we are seeing move after move go with two riders from the UAE clan team. Vink went, missed X100, went on his wheel, and look at this. He's gone up on to the very front of the race. And the only rider pretty much who's been able to go with him is Juan Hoyos, who's used his sprint power to get across. But here we go. This is a gap that is starting to form. It's only a few seconds at the moment, and it's putting the riders behind under pressure. If Mr. X100 can keep ramping this up, he's going to do some damage.
Well, the kick is coming behind because there are riders now deciding that this may be a decisive break and they want to be in it. Safrazad has moved on. Knudsen is kicking. Graves as well, and SS and Theme. And now all of these riders are deciding they want part and parcel of this breakaway. It is all coming back together again.
And this is where the riders have to be careful. The moment that Safrazad got into the group, they turned off the throttles in the UAE clan team. They were going, right, you're here, we're not going to take you in. And quite rightly, you wouldn't want to take Safrazad into the final climb in a small group of riders. What you want to do is keep on wearing him out before they get to the end. If they use their riders like this, they are going to be able to do that. Keep on going. You just too
I'm
nice.
laughing at wearing Safrazad out. Who can wear side Safrazad out? Because we have seen riders on the Sunday Race Club absolutely try and wear Safrazad out. Phil Graves, a master on the Sunday Race Club of trying to take the sting out of the climber's legs. And what happens? 9 times out of 10, the climbers still bring it to them at the end.
Doesn't mean you should stop trying, and it doesn't mean it will not work because it is still doing damage. Who knows? I mean, Safrazad might have got there in a different year, you know, a year earlier than anyone else if nobody had taken the sting out of his legs before that. And at the moment, he is on form. Talking with and another one goes. So look at this. It's time. It's whose turn? Your turn. Let's go. Michael Vink on the move here. This is absolutely non-stop action here on the MyWhoosh Championships. Vink goes in through the start here, and they're almost ignoring the fact we've got a sprinter with the exception of Hoyos here, because this is all about keeping the pace really, really high. They're keeping them under pressure, and this is breaking up here, and it looks like Hoyos is going to go through at 14 watts per kilo, but behind, it's going to be really interesting. Who's going to push on here?
Well, I tell you something, Matt, we have always said Mr. X100 is a master of the time trial and setting a pace. He is showing us he can kick as well, because take a look at that. Second last time, second this time.
And he goes in through there, collecting those 4 points, 3.2 Panitza, 2 points to SS, 1.2 Van Diemen. Vink came through, but I think he's got bigger fish to fry than the sprint points here, because I saw those two riders, Mr. X100 and Michael Vink, kick on over the top of the sprint. They kicked on into it. Hoyos sprinted through the middle of it. Hoyos on a different agenda, I think, to the rest of that pack. But it is brutal, and that is reflected. Look at the numbers on that. I think there's one rider less than 6 watts per kilo on that sprint section.
Strong. But we know we've got Fawcett coming in the group behind, and we know he's going to be going for the sprints. So those verified results at the end of the race going to be absolutely crucial for this sprint event.
Now, here we go. Vink onto the front. Mr. X100 there. Said Safrazad and Juan Hoyos. And it's got to be said, I reckon Vink and Mr. X100 are having a very good conversation that basically exists of 2 words. Or maybe 3. Your turn.
Well, I don't know about your turn.
Maybe your turn now.
But not this one, I think, would be my call. So every time they try and form a breakaway, it's deciding who goes with them. And this time is not the one. Safrazad, they do not want to take side Safrazad into that climb. They don't want him in that breakaway. And every time he comes over and joins them, they sit up.
Yeah, real interesting tactics here. Now, think about the names that we're mentioning. We are mentioning Mr. X100, Michael Vink. We're mentioning Said Safrazad. What about the riders behind? They're getting what should be a steadier state ride. Slower to react, less kick, more squeeze, more push, less kicking. And that should put them in a better state. Who's not done the work? Michael Knudsen.
Well, Nodson's not done any work, but we've also got some other really good climbers in there and people on really good form at the moment. We have seen Zanaska and Nair and Noren climb well. Martins is on form too. Never discount, as you said, Michael Knudsen, and he may well be their protected rider, but they may not be having it all their own way.
Well, a great racing, great to see the action. Yeah, it just looks sort of eased off a little bit. I'm careful to say that on category one at the moment today because it's almost guaranteed somebody else will have a go. But you can see our 4 race fields on your screens down to 2 leaders on the road. That is our category 4. They are at 62.46k. So they are on their way in. The category 4 riders about 3 kilometers off the climb, and they've got some interesting terrain on the way in. They've got a rise, a fall, and then a rise into the climb. They are on the way in. They're the leading riders on the road. We have a category 1 riders on the left hand side of your screen. They are at 35 and a half kilometers. So they've got about 5k to the next sprint section. And in between, in fact, we have got quite a hill on the way through.
Yeah, just taking a quick count up on that category 4 race at the moment. It's looking like that is a lead group of 10 riders there. So 10 riders in that lead group in that category 4 race. 2 kilometers now for them until they hit the base of that category 3 climb, our final climb of the day.
So we've made our way around in category 4, up along the side, up the climb, round the top of the climb, drop down, woven our way in and around ALÚLA, and we are now about to make our way up that final climb, up those hairpin turns, up towards the top. This contains our final mountain segment, as you can see, that heritage climb segment, and the run in to the finish. The climb starting at 65.6k for that segment. But as you can see, it is essentially uphill. You're gaining height from the final railway sprint all the way up and through the odd descent down. So about 2 kilometers to go to a point 0 exactly to the start of the climb for category 4.
Well, Alma in here, Dromard, Quadrelli, Noack, Suarez, Pledger, Dadson, and I'm taking a little look as it keeps flicking. Noack is in here as well. So we have, I think, at my count, 10 riders in this group, in this category 4 lead bunch. And the young rider is in here, the sprint leader. But where, Matt, my question is the leader on the road, the yellow jersey?
Not there.
I know.
There you go. I can answer you that because it's not there.
Yeah. Wow. Surprises. We're going to see some changes today in category 4.
But of course, bear in mind that we do have the potential that our yellow jersey leader has had a text issue and is still continuing to ride, as we saw with Michael Vink. And if that is the case, then of course the data is recording. This is one of the advantages of esports, is that when somebody goes to the side of the road but they carry on, we don't have any time limits. We can see them going and continuing onwards, and we can see that data generally coming in the back end. And that's why, of course, we have that live, unofficial, and verified. So great example of just why it ain't over till it's over, and why when I've been watching Emma coaching people, she always says to people, you never stop racing till you get over the checkered flag at the finish.
You might be having problems, but if you're having problems, everybody else likely is too. And, don't give up until you get over that line.
I always used to think that when it was hard. The harder it was, if I was hurting, I was going to try and make sure everybody else was hurting. That's the one. Well, they're going to be hurting soon. And I think there's a little bit of recovery going on here. Oh, I was about to say that. As we see Al-Rabi go off the front here. He's just squeezed away and just put them under pressure. So Hashem going to take the left-hand turn here. And you can see that profile coming up in front of the riders. That is not a sight everybody wants to see. The final couple of K in here are bumpy on the way into the climb itself. That's not going to be a view that everybody wants to see, is it?
No, but it is indeed how the road is rolling. And you can see underneath that arch the gradient kicking up and the banner that indicates the start of our final category 3 climb today. So this final Category 3 climb today will indeed take riders within 500 metres of the finish line. So don't think it is going to be flat on that 500-metre run in either, because this is one huge climb.
It is. So our first riders onto the climbing Category 4. They're going to be making their way up in the red. We've got the Category 3 in blue, Category 2 in green, but Category 1, no prizes for guessing what's happening. The UAE clan team are yet again on the front. This time it's SS and Mr. X100 on the front. No prizes for guessing that Saeed Sabrizad is one of the riders leading the chase behind. Tim Cutler is in the mix, and Cutler clearly is on form again today. He's right up in the leading group, and you can see the pressure keeps on being put on. Phil Graves up rolling around the front there with Pim van Diemen, with Van Elst. This is an absolutely brutal race today. This is not because we've got a sprint, is it, Emma? That's 2K away.
No, this is absolute team tactics that we're seeing now. And we're seeing team tactics play out on stage 3, not just for stage 3, but for the overall classification. And it's not just an individual competition where the UAE clan team have some really strong riders, because let's not forget other teams have really strong riders for the GC too. But this is also the team competition playing out as well. And those team dynamics really bring something different to the racing.
They do. Knock a rider out, take the riders down. Maybe even if they've still got 3 riders, you've put them under pressure because they know that they have to perform. You've got 4 riders. Everybody has in the back of their head, oh, you know what? If I felt, well, we've always got the team to go at. Again, another attack here, Mr. X100. You can see doing 2 watts per kilo more. And then the answer comes from Phil Graves. What I would really love to see would be Mr. X100 and Phil Graves going clear at the front together. Proper old school attack off the front by 2 of our most experienced riders, maybe SS in there as well, but them going down the road together, because that really, for me, would put the cat amongst the pigeons behind.
Well, this is a difficult part, I think, to put any real pressure on the riders, because we are coming up into sprint number 4 in 1 kilometre's time. So if we push an attack now, all that is likely to happen is Wahoo is going to pull the group back.
And he's going to do that because he's going to be going for the sprint.
Yep.
And we're watching Van Hoyst now, a real good rider to watch into the sprint, because he is going to sit at the in this group. He's got to look to put the sprint in, and at the moment, for me, he's in the wrong place. He's dropping back now. He's got to get to the back of this group before we hit the sprint so that he can use the sprint dynamics. But getting that modulation right, getting the power right as they pick this up is going to be really, really key. You can see that green jersey. He's trying not to lead this out at the moment, but he wants it to be faster than it's going. So he's going to have to kick it on. Now, has he promoted enough of a sting in there? Has he really started to fire the riders up? You can see he's out stretching those legs. They're starting to move in front of him, but he needs this pack to go faster. And the team that are not going to be going any faster are the team of Ross of Fawcett. So here we go. Hoyos just trying to lay off the back of the group. Look at the tactics here. He's sat on the back of the group. Brilliant tactics to watch. Look at this go in. They're going to come in. He's going to take the acceleration of the group. He'll go with that group as they come into the sprint. He's going to go with it, and now he starts to wind it up. He's used that to catapult himself clear, but he's got a good 200 meters to do solo here. Another sprint, 15 watts per kilo. He's holding 15. Is he going to lose some power here? He's down to 13, down to 12, down to 11. Now, was he fading towards the end there? Has he done enough? I can't wait to see when Ross Fawcett goes on. No pressure, Ross, by the way, if you're watching live.
Well, you know, that sprint competition may be absolutely a light for these Category 1 riders, but the pack is still together. Hoyos leading them out and taking the points there in that sprint competition at the moment. Live during the race, Van Elst in 2, SS in 3, Knudsen picking up 2 points, and Vanden Eckhout rounding out the top 5 point scorers for that sprint.
Here's a number for you. 1066, not just the Battle of Hastings, it's also the amount of watts that were put
Now,
out on his way through by MyWhoosh.
for those of you interested, sorry, just going to split in there, interested in UK history, the Battle of Hastings did not take place in Hastings. It took place in Battle. And there is actually a memorial in the small village of Battle in the south of England.
Named after the battle.
It was.
There you go. So, one history aside, one hoist, more importantly, 100 watts down.
Yeah.
Now, 100 watts, that could be somebody's FTP, probably mine after a week in the studio. But 1066 watts, that's 100 watts down. So that's what, 8%, 9% down for him. I'm not going to try and do the maths exactly because that's not my department. But substantially down. Now, is that because he's getting tired? He's got another sprint to go yet. He's still got to go for that one as well. That's at 53k. He's got to do some recovery on his way through. And that's in category 1. Now, we're just going to take a quick check across because we are with category 4 here. And this is on the climb. Cristiano Kennup was on form early on in this stage. He's leading here. And the attack has gone. Cristiano Kennup, surely he's our leader on the road because do you know what? He's on the climb now behind. Really interesting to see that Michael Suarez has got some company coming, I suspect, by Theab. Then we can just see behind. It's Quadrelli. I'm really questioning here because he was absolutely flying on these sprinty style mountains or hills over in Mount Pleasant. Look at these differences in time, Emma. The time gaps are starting to get
Well, I'll
quite
tell you something.
monumental.
For those of you who saw Kennup's social media feed overnight, he was taking his recovery exceptionally seriously. And there was a reason for that because we said recovery would be key. And Cristiano Kennup is absolutely showing us why recovery is core and key to performance. He's now established over a minute's lead on this final climb today in this category 4 competition.
So we're going to keep an eye on those time checks as they come through. Now, they are going to yo-yo up and down. Let's give you a quick explanation why. Because the time checks aren't taken old school with a stopwatch on a fixed marker. In the road race, you would take a marker. We're going past the end of the barrier now. Clock starts, and then when the next group hit, it's there. It's based on the average speed that the riders are riding at the time. So it estimates up that time gap. So that's why you'll see the gaps yo-yo. If a rider's on a steep section and another rider's on a descent, that will change those time gaps. And that is why we are seeing the changes happening very, very quickly indeed. Now, let's get back to category number 1 here, because as category 4 approaches the top, you can see another attack going. This time, Tim Cutler is the rider who is winding it up on the front of category 1. Really interesting to see how this goes on the front of Cat 1.
Yeah, so the group here all spread across the road at the moment because the stretch is coming on the front and it's Tim Cutler and Bart van den Eekhout at the moment. Vujasin and Kaminsky are there. So this attack is going, but it is going fight. Oh, SS has gone over the top. Van den Eekhout goes over the top of him at 43.6 kilometers. They have still not given up fighting to break this group of 23 riders.
So another big attack on a category 1, another big move. SS counters and moves across. So SS wearing the blue shoes, the blue hat. Cutler with the white helmet and the white shoes. They're being chased down. Popovic with the black helmet there is coming up on the side. But look who's coming over the top here. Michael Vink has seen this move. This is a push up this climbing section here. It is a big old hill. They've got a lift up and then it drops down. And the transition is relatively quick. The top of this climb is not flat. It is actually slightly downhill. And that means that these riders can take advantage of it if they push hard enough. They've got to force a gap, though. They've got to force a breakaway. They've got to force it clear. Is it going to go clear this time? Vink just takes a little bit of a breath as he sees the rest of the group come up. Well, he's holding his powder dry at the moment, I think now. He's letting the rest of the riders do the work as the yellow jersey drops back into that main group.
Yeah, well, as the yellow jersey drops back into that main group, the group all come back together again. And this power of these Category 1 riders continually being challenged on the front of the group. The pace is up, down, up, down, up, down. It is absolutely like they're climbing a set of stairs at the moment with the constantly changing pace and power. But is anybody going to get away? They have been doing this now for over 10 kilometers, Matt. Over 10 kilometers they have been pushing on and pulling back, pushing on and pulling back. Is this group going to get whittled down any further, or are we going to see a group of 20 plus Category 1 riders go together into that final climb today?
I'll give you the answer to that. I reckon. This is my opinion. There you go. I'm not going to sit on the fence. Don't call me Emma. So the riders going up over the into that climb. My guess, Emma, is that we're going to see 20 riders in there. I don't think we're going to lose anybody by the base. I think we're just going to see some riders really, really in the red, and they're going to really be struggling. What do you reckon?
Well,
do you think we're going to have them together? Are we going to lose anyone?
I don't. Well, see, I'm sitting on the fence at the moment. I don't think so, because if I was in that group, I would not. I would be covering every single move, and that's exactly what everybody is doing. And Said Safrazad is the one at the moment covering that move. He is absolutely adamant. He's not letting anybody get away. Van Hoyes, X100, Vink, Van den Eckhout is also doing a lot of work at the front now. Like you said, Matt, it's the riders who have been taking it easier in the middle of the pack that I think are the dangerous ones later today.
Well, we'll see if we are proved right, and whether or not my bold prediction. Nothing, never afraid of sticking my head above the parapet and getting shot at. Speaking of battles, we'll see if that's going to come to fruition. A slight pause in the proceedings on the way through. Remember, of course, this is stage 3. This is the third of the battles in the 7-stage war that is the MyWhoosh Championships. Who's going to come out victorious at the end of that? Well, we hope you're going to follow the racing all the way to its conclusion at the end of stage 7. And joining myself, Matt Payne, and Emma Martin, all the way in to the end of the racing. Our riders in all of our categories on the same course today, the same 735 meters of vertical ascent, the same 70 kilometers of riding, this same amazing terrain here in the ALÚLA world here, and of course taking us past the famous Elephant Rock, and to the same finish as we make our way up into towards the summit here. We're going to join the riders for the very last few hundred meters, I suspect. Here we're in with Cristiano Kennup. He is the rider on the front. He's spinning those legs around at the moment. He has got a substantial time gap at the moment as he goes up there. We'll see if that's going to hold. It is yo-yoing up and down as the train changes, and this is a brutal finish. And this is where we get our first real look at this finish, Emma, as they come up 13% here for Kennup as he comes in.
It's a nasty, nasty finish here with a big kick, as you can see, and still cannot see that finish banner. He's got around 70 meters to go, and that banner is not.
So let's see if he gets there and holds on to that place. Now, Suarez currently sitting about 200 meters down at the moment. So this is going to be a real battle. There's not a lot to choose between these two riders. Kennup is pushing, Suarez pushing, Drummond is pushing. So at the moment, all three are riders on there, and Drummond can see Suarez in front. There's only about 10 seconds, but Kennup is leading. He has got the bridge to make his way up. This is going to be really interesting, Emma.
Yeah, it is going to be really interesting. It's going to be really close, and I think there are going to be some much smaller time gaps back down that field. But it is about our leader at the moment, and Kennup is crossing this wooden bridge. I, for one, would not be wanting to look down over the edge there as he progresses towards that finish line.
So our riders are making their way up into the finish here in Category 4. A great view for us. They're going to make their way through. Make sure you check back on our verified results for the finishing positions on those riders. I think we're probably going to try and get across to category 1. We've got an attack on the go. Mr. X100, no surprises there, but he looks like he's gone solo here. So this could be a big race already moving category 1. You can see the riders in category 4 who are making their way up to the top of the climb. But this is about that big move coming in category 1 at the moment. Mr. X100 has gone for this, and I tell you something, this is a move because he's 8 seconds clear.
Yeah, well, 8 seconds clear, and it is a move, Matt, that people would not be expecting. They would be expecting Vink or Knudsen to go down the road as we just bring up the results there of the category 4 men's heritage climb. Now, this is not the finish, this is the heritage climb, and Suarez being the fastest rider through that segment.
So the segment climb finishing before the end of the climb. Catch up with all of the results on the MyWhoosh page. And remember, they're live at the moment. They will change, I'm sure, as we run into the finish. Now, let's get into category 1. These are our fastest rider, and the fastest of the fastest at the moment is Mr. X100. The Masters leader has got a 10-second gap.
Well,
back.
yeah, this is a sneaky move, you know, Matt, because I don't think the rest of the field are expecting that. They've definitely not responded to it because I don't think they see Mr. X100 as a beacon like Vink going down the attack. And I think, you know what, he might be able to get away because of this. We know he's a great time trialer. He's been on the attack. He's a great team player. He's the team captain on the road. And you know what? This could well be the sneakiest move of the day.
I think it's the bravest move of the day because, and the most well earned as well, because he really has been pushing on. So we're going to follow our next riders into the line. This is the run for the line, very close between our category 4 riders going through, and this is going to decide the very final yellow jersey at the moment. It is going to go to Suarez. So Drummer coming through with Suarez there. They managed to get past Kenneth on that climb, and that is going to be really interesting when that unfolds tomorrow. Michael Suarez, we've seen him climb in category 4 on the Sunday Race Club time and time again. It looks like he may well have done that. And remember, that is the difference. We went through the banner and then of the climb finish, and then we went up and through the finish. So the riders making the way in through in category 4. You can see Cavajal, Drummond, and Suarez are 3, 2, 1 at the moment. Has that been a portent of what is going to come further on? The riders are really pushing their way up to the finish. It's a big old climb. It's at the end of the stage. So you can see the riders up on your screen at the moment in Cat 4.
So category 4's results today. These are the live results as they come across the line in category 4 overall. On stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships, we have category 1, category 2 and category 3 still out on the course with a lot of racing to go. So we continue to move and we continue to move through the racing as the riders continue to come over the line in category 4. Quadrelli, the next rider to come over on the stage, and the rankings and the results will continue to come through. You can see the link there, mywhoosh.com/results is where you are going to see the live results and then the verified and final results as we continue to process the results.
Indeed. Now, here we go into the sprint. We're going in category 1, and Mr. X100 is off the front of this group solo. We're going to see Juan Hoyos sprint here. Now, is Hoyos going to bring anybody across with him as he puts the power down? You can see that Nevu, Mel and co are working hard behind, and they're coming into the sprint. It's only a matter of a few seconds, but we saw this before in some of our other categories. If they don't actually close down through the sprint, then you see the attacker continuing to push. The sprinters ease off, but that is only if that sprint is contested. And I don't think anybody has had anything left to go on the way in through. Really interesting to see that. So taking a look at the railway sprint, result here. Martins with the fastest time, then Bear, then Van Diemen, then Panizza. Emma, not seeing Hoyos.
No, I know. Not seeing Juan Hoyos there, but you know what? It's about time somebody else picked up some points, Matt.
It is. It may well be he's been distanced because remember these results are live on the way in and through. So as these live results come in, if Hoyos is, for example, distance, then he can make his way in there into the finish. So he may be having to sprint a little bit later, and you can see the pressure really on this group. Maybe Hoyos is taking a four-sit approach now for the last sprint of the day and going solo at it, not having to answer all the rest of the attacks because it's been made incredibly tough. We're going to take a little look into this group at the moment. So as these riders continue in and through, we are making our way down. We're at 51.9 kilometers at the moment. Let's see where they're going to go.
So as we continue to push on, Category 3 coming into that final climb, and they are moving. It is Jack Staples who is leading out at the moment, but he has got Tysalius for company. Phillips is there, Hardina, Eckersley, Montoya, Quadrelli. This is an absolute who's who. We are at 66.15 kilometers. They are absolutely on the lower stages of this climb, and it is a huge pack of riders. Who is going to be there at the top? We have not got long to find out.
We haven't, and this group hasn't broken up, has it? I mean, this is a huge, long train of riders. It is got plenty of carriages. There's people pulling up the front, but there's a long run of riders behind in our Category 3 competition. You can see those blue dots in a long, long line. Staples, Tysalius, Adina, Montoya, Phillips, Eckersley, Esteban, all down in a long line, all in the red at the moment on this 13% slope there, the right-hand side of your screen, left-hand side of the screen. These are our Category 2 riders, and they are going to be heading towards the climb. They're on that tough section where it rises and falls on the way into the climb. But the right-hand side is where the action is at the moment. So twist your dick to the right, have a look at the colours, engage your colour vision, and you can see now we've got Tysalius now moving on the front. It's Staples, Phillips, and Montoya. What a battle in Category 4 on the slopes, and all the rest of the categories are going to be chasing in Category 3 now, battling it out. Category 2 on the way in. This is Category 1, and again we are seeing movement around this category.
Yeah, we are seeing movement indeed with Kaminsky, Heaney, Graves, Vanden Eckhout, Nair, Safrazad, Cutler, SS, Fujasin, all still in this group. This group are a really tight-knit community at the moment on the road. Staples is the one pushing on again on this Category 3 finish. Staples is there, Phillips is there, Herdina is there, Tysalius is still in it, so is Montoya. These riders absolutely giving it their all on this final climb.
I'm really interested in Herdina. Is the rider in the under-23 competition who has been so strong. Well, I did wonder whether or not he was going to be able to hold on in the climbs, but Jack Staples is putting in a ride here. So it's Staples who's on his way up. He has got the lead at the moment. He's got Phillips behind him, and Phillips is his teammate on the Battlers team as well. So that is really interesting to see. So is Carl Tysalius. So those are three riders from the same team who are right up in the top 5 at the moment. Montoya is in here. Now, Montoya is not the teammate of Herdina, so it looks like of the top 5, we've got 2 riders, one from separate teams. So Montoya from the Go Hard team, the MyWhoosh Beats team from Herdina, but the battlers with 3 riders in the top 5.
Yeah, well, whilst that Category 3 finish absolutely continues to rock, it is rocking in the Category 1 race as well. Vink has pushed on and made a break for it, but Vidal Mare from the Italian Gelato squad have gone with him. So 2 riders now forming a breakaway. Vujasin and Nair and Van Donen are the riders doing the chasing on the pack behind, but they are not closing it down.
So we've got a breakaway in Category 1. We've got the run for the finish in Category 2. In Category 3. In the blue, you can see Staples and Phillips are currently separated by a few seconds for Adina from Montoya and Taisalis. This is going to really come down to what people have left in the tank.
Yes, well, we can see the push here. We can see Phillips, Staples, and Herdina at the moment. These three riders all neck and neck. It is Montoya and the next position coming through. In fact, Montoya has kicked and come up and gone over the group. So Montoya, Phillips, Staples, Herdina, 4 riders now. Tysalius is the next rider back, and Tysalius is pushing on. So as our Category 3 race continues to push these riders in the tunnel at the moment, 67.8 kilometres into this race, they continue to push on those wheels and they continue to push towards that finish line. So as the race continues underway in this Category 3 race, in Category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen, the breakaway from Vink and Mel are sticking. It's a UAE clan Italian Gelato 1 and 2 in the breakaway. Popovic is the rider covering the front of the group from the UAE clans team perspective, but Nair, Knudsen, Safrazad are all in there with Hoyas and Graves.
So that breakaway starting to establish itself. Mare in with Michael Vink. Really big move. You can see the bunch coming behind. That's on the left of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen, Michael Phillips really kicking on here. Remember, we have 2 banners we're looking for. We're looking for the polka dot banner that looks just like Phillips's jersey. It's red in the middle. It's got the polka dots down the side. It is the top of the climb segment. But it's not the top of the climb, and it's not the end of this stage for the riders, because they have to continue onwards to the end of the stage itself. And every single meter is critical. Every pedal stroke is critical here. Emma, these riders, you can see the effort that's going into this. It could be anybody's get out of these riders at the front, surely.
Well, 1,700 metres to go, Matt, and it is absolutely an eyeballs out fight here. Staples, I think, has been quite adamant he really wants a good finish today, but Phillips is the rider pushing on. Mare, now we just flick him back to this Category 1 race because Vink and Mare are the 2 riders away. Safrazad is the rider doing the chasing, and you can see the group. They have not broken. It is only 2 seconds. This is going to come back together again in Cat 1, and that break is not going to stick.
It's not, and Safrazad is making his way across, and because of that, he was marked by Mistakes 100, and I think it's going to be Vink Mare, then Safrazad Mistakes 100, then a little bit more of a gap back to Hoyos and Kaminsky and Van Diemen, who are the chasers. You can see they're rotating through the base of the names on the right-hand side of the left-hand screen. So if you followed that, basically 2 riders at the top, 2 riders following, and then that chase coming back together again. Wow. This, though, is the run for the finish. Emma, this bridge is brutal. We've talked about just how tough this climb is on here, and this bridge section is so straight. It means that these 3 riders are in the sights of the riders behind. They're 13 seconds back. Sounds like a big time gap, but we still have 1.4k to go to the finish line.
There's 1.4 kilometres to go in this Category 3 race still, and it is all uphill. Now, Phillips, Staples and Herdina, the 3 riders out front, but it is now 12 seconds back to Esteban, Montoya, Orego, and those 3 riders are doing the chasing. So 3 riders out front, 3 riders chasing, 1.3 kilometres to go.
And on the left of your screen, Category 1 now coming all back together again, if but briefly, as they've managed to rejoin. All the chasers have joined, in fact, because the rest of the bunch are now coming up behind them. So the leading riders have been caught back by a chasing trio on the way through. So 5 riders becomes 6, becomes 7, as the rest of the pack are about to make the catch here. So that attack was short-lived. It was probably our longest to date. It contained Michael Vink, and that is why all the rest of the teams went. And now Michael Knudsen is ripping it up on the front. He's continuing to keep the pace hard. There is no let-up in Category 1. There are no passengers on the express train today. Everybody is going to be feeling the pace. And at the moment, the wind is whipping past Category 1 as it makes its way towards the 58.5k marker. They've still got a long run to the base of the climb, but category 3, well, our leaders at the moment, Emma, they've almost looks like they've eased off the pace and just taking it a little bit steadier here. Maybe just called a little bit of a truce as they run into the final few hundred meters.
This is a long climb and it is a steep climb, Matt. There are such steep segments on this climb. Even though we see a downhill section too and a bit of a flat, this is absolutely killer in places, this climb. And don't forget, these category 3 riders have got 69 kilometers already under their belts today. So 70k yesterday, 70k the day before. They are starting to feel it.
They are indeed. We've been racing for 2 hours and 7 minutes today. So they've got 2 hours of racing to cover the distance so far. And at the moment, we're into the final few hundred meters of the climb segment. This is for the points. Then it will be the run for the line to get the stage result. And you can see how agonizing it is. You can see that we've got Phillips, we've got Stables, we've got Hedina in here. All these riders working to try and get the points in here. And at the moment, we've got 200 meters to go for that banner. And at the moment, it's Phillips in the prime spot, but Staples has not given up. And they're knocking chunks off of each other here. They could put themselves in the red zone and actually pay the price when it comes to the run for the stage win. Remember, stage win will get you prize money as well today. But look at this Phillips. So he wants this. He's at nearly 7 watts per kilo. He's going to come over the crest here. So he's going to take the right-hand turn. He takes the mountain segment. He should have the fastest time. Hedina in second place, coming over the line of the segment. Let's have a quick look at those times.
Well, very quick look because there's still 500 meters to the finish line. So Phillips in 1, Hedina in 2, a 500-meter run in now to the finish line in this category 3 race.
So Phillips now is at 69.7k. He's got that gap. Now, Emma, he opened that gap on the run in. Is this going to pay off for him? Staples and Hedina behind it. They don't look like they're going to close this down.
Well, that is a good question, isn't it? Can Phillips make it all the way to the line? He's got about, what? I don't even, he's coning down so quickly, I don't even want to count it. He's got 20 meters to go. He's going to come swinging around this corner. It is going to change it here.
So here we go, into the left-hand turn. He's at 69.8k. He's got 70k to go as his total distance. He's got the gap on Hedina. He's got the gap on Staples. He's on his way in towards the finish. He's got the gap. This is going to be victory today, and he's going to do it in style in the polka dot jersey. Category 3 winner is Michael Phillips. He comes through the line, and behind it's going to be a sprint between Hedina, who takes it from Staples. Staples going to take 3rd place on the stage today, and they can be content in knowing they have blown the field apart. It is in pieces behind them on the mountain. Michael Phillips taking the win. Stefan Hedina, followed by Jack Staples. They are your 1, 2, 3 in the overall at the end of stage 3 as they came over the line. And look at that, 5 seconds from Phillips to Hedina, 5 seconds from Hedina to Staples at the end of that climb. And when we say the racing's close, look at the watts, look at the heart rate, and look at the watts per kilo. Super close, brilliant racing. So much for us to talk about, and still more racing to go. Category 2 on the right of your screen, they're on the mountain. They are currently at 66.3k. But in category 1, Michael Vink, he's on the attack again. So Vink is clear in category 1, and I can't see anybody behind him on the screens in the race here. It's Vink leading. 28 seconds is the gap. They've given him half a minute.
Well, how many times can you close a gap and how many times can you chase someone down? Now, Vink maybe has been allowed to go because he is on his own. He hasn't got a teammate with him. He hasn't got any other riders with him. And maybe the pack have just decided Vink's going to do Vink's thing. Let's race for second.
Oh, that's a big bold statement.
It is, isn't it?
It's not like you to get off that fence so quickly. Right, okay. So Michael Vick clearly on a mission to win, and the rest have given up, according to Emma.
I didn't say that.
According to me, I have to actually agree. I think the problem is when you are faced with an unstoppable force like Michael Vink, it's very hard to answer every single move by him, to put yourself in the way and be that immovable object and actually prevent Vink from doing Vink's thing. And I think if you were racing against Vink and he went this early, he's still got 8K to go. He's going to time trial his way to that summit, I'm sure. I'll put money on it. Behind, though, there are still battles to be fought, and there is a lot of prize money at stake. So, World Tour rider Michael Vink in the race lead. If he gets a big gap, of course, that will help the UAE clan team in that team competition as well, because, of course, that time will help them with it 3 riders to score. So, 60 kilometers, well, 62 for our leader of the category 1 race. And you can see the rest of the UAE clan team here. They are sat behind Mr. X100, just sat on the back of this group, and surely they're not going to do anything now, Emma.
Well, that's a really good question, because I think they are going to do something, Matt, and something very soon. Because let's put it this way, Vink may have ridden off the front, but there are still 22 riders in that group.
That is
And
indeed
however
true.
much you've got one rider out front, 22 riders in that pack is still a lot. Now, we talked earlier on about the time gaps being very, very small right the way across this race field because of the nature of the finishes we've seen so far. We haven't seen anybody really ride away hard with a big time gap. So Vink may be putting in a time gap today, and well, let's debate how far that may be by the time we get to the end of 70 kilometers. But the riders chasing behind are going to be riding for second, third, fourth, and fifth, and that is going to bring them closer to Vink because they are going to be fighting each other.
Well, let's see if that is going to come true. I suspect everyone's going to be 100% right there. We're back in with category 2. This is Nicholas Spratt, who has just gone up over the top of Cristiano Maglia with Eduardo Parisi behind. It's a bit like Sunday Race Club all over again, because these are regulars on the Sunday Race Club. Nicholas Spratt, Christian Maglio, Eduardo Parisi. You've got Carsten Mayer just behind them as well. It's then a 50-second gap back to Che Howeiler along with Andre Duque, Paolo Casimano. It really is a who's who of the racing. And I'll tell you something, this second category race is setting itself up for a grandstand finish here today. We've seen how hard this final section of the climb is, and we have seen that it levels going round over the polka dot banner, and then it is going to kick again into the finish, but get a gap and you can make it stick. Is anybody able to do that? We've got 4 very well matched athletes here. Spratt on the front in the green with the white helmet. In the all yellow is Maglio. Parisi is in the polka dot, and Carsten Mayer has the red helmet on there. So 4 very distinctive, different riders here to see who is going to take it away when they come up to the top. So that gap holding 50 seconds, the pressure on from Spratt. Parisi chasing behind. We're on this long straight bridge. The riders behind, even at 50 seconds, will be able to see them because these riders are going for over a minute, and Mayer is now pushing at 5.2 watts per kilo. He has got the lead, and at the moment it's Parisi who's on the back foot at the back of the group. So Mayer currently leading up here. Can Mayer break the elastic? The time gap is opening here. It's a few seconds he's got. Is he going to come to the fore? Has he got enough in his legs to take away the yellow jersey? Can he take away a polka dot jersey? Is he going to take away the stage prizes? It's all going to come down to these final 1,300 meters.
Yeah, well, the final 1,300 meters is in fact what they have got left, but we're starting to see a bit of a gap from Carsten Mayer come across at the front there. But as we have seen in the other 2 categories, never discount the climbing here with Maglio, Spratt and Parisi close on his heels.
Okay, so that's category 2. We're going to take a run back, I think, to category 1. And Michael Vinga should be fast approaching the base of the climb at the moment. So the category 2 heading for the top. Category 1 heading in towards the base of the climb. I think they're probably going to hit pretty much at about the same time here. Emma, they're separated by a lot of ascent, and you can see it looking down from the riders down to sea level. They're up above that hot air balloon. It's not going to give you much aerial view this time around. Here we go. This is going to be tight. 69k covered, half a kilometer to go now. Maglio is trying to keep a mare under control. Spratt is doing the same, and the gap is opening here. Who wants this the most? Who can dig the deepest? Who's your money on for the finish time to make your decisions for these riders as they push up here? Now Maglio goes over the top of Mayer. Is he going to get a response from Mayer? They're into this long sweeping left-hand turn. Remember, this is for the mountain points of the first banner. That's at 69.5. Then for the stage win and the stage prize money when you get up to the final kick in at 70k. There on the right-hand side of your screen, left-hand side, this is the chasing group hitting the base of the climb. They are chasing Michael Vick, who has a big gap. He's opened up something absolutely monstrous. We will be dropping back in with them, and this is the attack now. Hoyos on the attack. The rest of those riders really lighting it up, and as you can see, with that massive kick, that massive attack, we are starting to see damage done. Now, interestingly, Safrazad being distanced there. I think he's in front of Mr. X100, but we'll take a look at that when we go back because we are focused on category 2, and this is a run here for the line. This is for your sprint in for points in the mountains competition, and Maglio is going to sweep them up. Can he kick on to the finishing line? Well, he's got Parisi and Mayer on his heels. It's going to be close. Parisi, Maglio, and Mayer, your order coming over the line in the mountains competition here on the Heritage Climb. But remember, we've still got the stage finish to go at. Maglio has got the front of the race. Behind him, it's Mayer and Parisi, and they are neck and neck. But I think Maglio's done enough here. This is 69.69, now 69.7. They go by meter by meter. The riders are on the way up on into the finishing line, and I think Maglio is going to take this. We are going to come in to the last 200 meters, and Mayer is kicking in response.
So Mayer is got 5 seconds behind Maglio at the moment. As we see the left-hand bend ahead, Parisi in 3, Spratt in 4. Spratt is 15 seconds off of the current leader, Maglio, on the road as they come into the last 100 meters to ride. Maglio is about to see that finish banner as he comes round the bend, and Maglio is going to be your winner today in category number 2. So Mayer comes up and through and taking this bend. We'll see the finish banner and come through in second place. Parisi is going to be the next rider over the line in third, and Spratt pushing on and coming through in fourth.
So you can see the top 4 there. Cristiano Maglio doing a great job to take victory. Mayer in second place, Parisi in third, Spratt taking fourth place there. As we heard Emma call over the line. What an amazing ride. And again, really close as they came in and through. You can see the rest of the riders coming through. Make sure you catch up with those results on mywhoosh.com/results. So that's category 2, 3, and 4 wrapped up at the front of the race. With category 1 left to go. What's happening? Well, Michael Vink, we said he had got a gap. He certainly has. And you can see behind him, these riders are all over the road here at the moment. So it's Vink leading, Vujasin in 2, Hoyos in 3, Safsad has moved up in 2, 4, in fact, now up in 2, 3. But look at the gap, 2 minutes from Michael Vink to Lionel Vujasin. Now, remember, this is a live time based on the speed of the riders. But I'll eat my hat if Michael Vink doesn't take a 2-minute lead out of this stage and into the next one. Now, we're going to watch these riders continue to push up. Juan Hoyos Well, he showed yesterday that he could climb as well as sprint. He's got the power. So did Pim van Diemen. He's the rider in the polka dot jersey. Van Diemen is showing some serious climbing legs, but none of them can match Michael Vink.
No, so Vink in one. Here's Safrazad. Safrazad has done exactly the same on this climb as he did on the first Category 3 climb today. He started at the back of the bunch because that will give him the fastest time if he can move through the bunch, and it guarantees him that, even if by fractions of a second. So Safrazad showing real technique and riding with his head as he comes through into third place. So Vink in one, Hoyas in two, Safrazad in three. We're dropping back down the race field a little further down the climb. X100 currently in 18th. He's wearing that Masters jersey. Christoph Thiem is the rider he can see, and Tim Cutler just up the road.
So the chasing group on the left-hand side of your screen. The riders chasing on the way up. They are on the left-hand side. That is a group of 5 riders. That is Safrazad, Van Diemen, Bujasin, or it looks like Hoyos and SS in that group. I think Marty's just joining them. They're all chasing Michael Vink, who has the race lead. We saw Mr. X100 there, Emma, at the back, and you were just pointing out to me on our screens that he's got some company that we maybe wouldn't have expected.
Yeah, Michael Knudsen was down in around 20th position. Now, Knudsen, we know, a consummate climber, but the UAE clan team have used him today on the front mat and used him for those attacks. So interesting to see him just sitting in around 20th position at the moment.
Well, it is going to be the case if you've got a leader like Michael Vink on the road that you're going to use him, and the rest of the riders making the way up. Now, Mr. X100, we know, will time trial his way up here. He knows exactly how much effort to put in and is going to be closing down riders in front, but there is only so far you can get when the riders have a lead. Vink at the moment sitting at a minute. Then it's Juan Hoyos, then Safrazad and Martins Van Diemen, Bujasin, and they are yo-yoing in position because they are so close together. But Vink about to hit the long bridge. There is a well and truly, this needs to be named Purgatory Bridge because it is absolute purgatory to climb. I've had the displeasure of climbing this in MyWhoosh. It is incredibly brutal. It goes on. It feels like it's eternal from the start to the top. Even at the pace that Michael Vink is doing, the riders behind have a long way to go before they get there. Such is the gap, and Juan Hoyos now starting to open up a little bit of distance on Safrazad and Bujasin. And I tell you something, Lionel Bujasin is getting stronger and stronger as this race progresses. And I think this could be where we see the experienced riders coming to the fore.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I don't disagree because this is the final climb, Category 3 today. It is the final climb of 2 climbs in the King of the Mountains on Stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships. We have had 5 sprints as well during this 70-kilometre stage, and we are now within the last 2 kilometres of this effort.
So you can see on your screens to the Climb Mistakes 100 on the right-hand side, the leader of the Masters competition. On the left-hand side, the leader on the road, your general classification leader at the end of stage 2. Moving up on across this long curving section. He's flown up Purgatory Bridge. He's now on the nice curving panorama, which is only only 7.5%, so a little bit easier in terms of gradient, but this is an absolutely brutal climb here. And you can just see that SS and Mr. X100 are going to come together on this climb. So the two teammates are going to be together. They can't give each other a shove on the way up as you might do in real life if you're having a good day and your teammates having a bad day, but they can encourage each other. It is always helpful, but you can see the work is really being done. They're going to get across Purgatory Bridge, going to be on the long sweeping right-hand bend as Michael Vink comes into that long left-hand bend. He's in P1. He's in position 1 of 29 mistakes, 100, moving up from 18th. He's down to 15th position, sweeping up riders. But that's your Masters leader in Category 1. But Category 1 leader on the road, it is Michael Vink. He's ahead of Said Safrazad, ahead of Hoyos, ahead of Van Diemen. But I think we are seeing really the big shots being fired here in our general classification, because these riders are going to take away some big time gaps.
Well,